All right. Hi, everyone. How are you today? Having a good day? Awesome. I love to hear it. Thank you all for being here. You guys inspire me so much. So today we're going to be talking about how to grow your circle of influence and talk about why this is important and why it's important to inspire others to join this movement with us. So with that, let's get going. Oh, do I have a clicker? Yes. Okay. Yay, that's me. So my name is Stephanie Stone. As they mentioned, I'm the Standing With You coordinator. But something that also kind of uniquely puts me up here is I was the DC, Maryland, and Virginia regional coordinator for a long time. And you guys saw at the March for Life, I don't know, did anyone see the protesters that were there this week? Yeah, a little crazy, right? But even though we face that adversity, it is so important to stand up, even if we're introverted like me, and try to grow our circle of influence to try and inspire more people to join this movement and save more babies. So, moving on. Okay, so this quote I keep in the back of my mind for any time that is troubling, when there are really a lot of opposing views going on and I'm struggling. I keep, perhaps you were created for such a time as this. It has felt for the past couple of years, I don't know about you guys, but like there's so much tumult in the world. There's just a lot going on, and when you profess these views, I don't know if you've experienced this too, it just feels so dark and heavy. There are lots of people who will come at you and call you names and spit at you, literally yesterday, but a lot of different things happen right now, and it feels like a time of tumult. But you guys were also created in this moment. Not just Trump and Biden, not just all the politicians, not just the pro-choice and pro-lifers. You were created for this specific moment to stand up. So I just encourage you, keep this in the back of your mind whenever you face adversity. So we're going to talk about leadership today. Me and these other amazing Students for Life activists, we're going to talk about leadership and how it's a calling. So this quote is something I also keep in the back of my head, but the true measure of leadership is influence, nothing more and nothing less. Who here has a story of someone who brought you into this movement? Social media or someone you were listening to, we all have a story that brought us into this movement. And you all have a story now that you can share with the world and influence others to join. And you saw how big the March for Life was this year. I don't know if it was the biggest one yet. Someone told me that years and years before my time, there were like 400, 500,000 people, and it's still just a growing movement. And your story can bring more people into this circle. So we're going to talk about how you can grow that sphere of influence through social media, on campus, in your community, and I'm going to talk about how you can do it to help pregnant and parenting students and mothers all along the way. So you have the ability to inspire and shape this generation. Don't forget that. Every one of us has talents that we bring to the table. Like I mentioned before, I'm really introverted. Are any of you introverted in this room? Yeah. So I was really scared before I joined Students for Life to speak my mind and speak up. But truly, here I am now. And I can tell you how many times I have failed up on the stage and just been really nervous. But it's worth it to get up and tell your story no matter how much your voice shakes. So I just encourage you, introverted, extroverted, everyone, all of your talents, bring them to the table. Extend a hand to someone else who has different talents than you and increase that sphere of influence. Grow your network, because the more people that you inspire, even by being here today and telling your story, the more people that will eventually join this movement and abolish abortion. So keep up the great work, you guys. So our goals today are, sorry, I can't really read from over there, to learn how to grow your circle of influence by strategically utilizing social media, by engaging with others on campus, like I mentioned, supporting women in need, I'll come back up here later, and calling upon your community post-graduation, and that's what Kate will talk about. So I'm going to pass it over to Morgan Reese to talk more about social media. Come on up here, Morgan.
Hello, my name is Morgan Reese. I am the Michigan Regional Coordinator for Students for Life, and as Stephanie said, I'll be talking to you guys about social media activism. I gotta do the actual clicker. Okay, so this is just about how to grow your circle of influence strategically. So I'll be mostly talking to you guys about Instagram, but I think it's important to just quickly go over a few of the others. So Facebook, not a lot of younger people use Facebook, but it is still good to have a Facebook page to just post on it occasionally so that you also reach an older audience. Twitter, there's like a decent amount of young people on Twitter, so again, like you could just maybe do like a few reposts here and there. Snapchat reaches a lot of young people, although it's like typically not the best place to post just because things don't save. Like you don't have like a home page where all of your posts are saved in one place. TikTok is pretty popular, but I actually don't have TikTok. So, and it it can be very addicting. So, but I really like Instagram. I've always loved Instagram, so I'll just be talking to you guys about that. It's not moving to the next slide. Okay. So first, hire a social media chair. So it's really important that you dedicate one person on your Students for Life executive board to social media, because it is a really big job to have to like make posts in Canva and like edit the reels, take really good high quality photos. They're your designated photographer and videographer for all of your events. I mean, you can have other people like contribute occasionally with like taking good pictures and videos, but it's good to have like one like full-time person who can do this. So yeah. And then it's hard having like a clicker and having to click on the computer at the same time. And then, so speaking of like your executive board, you're going to want to have a group chat for your executive members, and also just like for the larger groups. Like you're going to want to probably get GroupMe. You could also use like Facebook Messenger, but GroupMe I think is the best. Like it's just a good way to organize events. Like you can schedule events in your calendar. You can include pictures, dates and times, all that kind of stuff, locations. So GroupMe is a very popular platform that we use all the time. So definitely have one for just like executive members and then one for the whole club. That way you can organize it into different things. You can send out Excel sheets that people can add to, stuff like that. So then I have a few examples from my own Instagram page. So I'm Michigan_SFLA on Instagram in case you're curious. So here are just a few examples of like some stories that I've posted recently. So a really, really big thing, both for stories and for feed posts, is to always use captions on your videos, because at least 50% of all people now are watching stories and videos and reels without sound. A lot of people quickly pull out their phone. They're like in the middle of a meeting, they're in class, they're wherever where they can't turn on sound. So I mean, around half the time, they're not gonna be able to hear you. And if they can't hear you, they're just gonna click off because they don't understand what you're saying. And that really hurts your engagement if at least 50% of all the people who come across your content are just like clicking off of it right away. So in order to retain that 50%, you need to add captions. And you also need to edit the captions to make sure that they're accurate, because a lot of times they're not. There's gonna be missing words, added words, the grammar's wrong, the spelling's wrong, the punctuation's wrong. So if you just click directly on the captions, so like first to get captions, go to the sticker icon. It just looks like a little sticker with a smiley face. Click on that, click on captions. It'll take like a minute to load. And then once it loads your captions, click directly on the captions, and then it'll break it down word by word. That way you can add missing words, you can take out extra words, you can fix punctuation, capitalization, spelling, grammar, all that kind of stuff, and then hit the done button. That way it saves, because otherwise you'll have to redo it, and that's very long and tedious. So yeah, definitely do that. And also just in general, like white text without backing is very trendy. That's not always doable because it's not always gonna be legible. But if you ever can, try to just do like the big white text with like no backing to it, because it's just very trendy like that. People like the white text. And then also make your stories very interactive, like use question boxes, polls, links, all that kind of fun stuff, the quizzes, because it really boosts your engagement if people are clicking on the geotag, they're clicking on hashtags, they're clicking on the polls, the question boxes, all that kind of stuff. It really boosts your engagement because people love to interact with the stories, and people are liking it, they're DMing you, all that kind of stuff. And then for question boxes, also don't just make the options yes or no, like try to spice it up a little bit and make it something more original that just seems just more fun to read. So yeah, like I just put the option, like also include emojis too, more punctuation, more emojis, like just to make it fun. And then also when it comes to doing reposts, I would always add text to repost to make the post more your own. That way it really seems like you thought about it, you added like your own input to it. It's not like just a repost, it's also like your own thoughts added to it. And a really good thing is just like to explain what exactly is happening in the photo, because a lot of people like probably don't get it, and it might seem obvious to you what's happening in the photo, but a lot of other people looking in are like, wait, what school is this? What group is this? Who is that? Like, why should I care? What are they doing? So definitely explain the basics of like who's in the photo, where you are, what group it is, what school it is, what are they doing, what's the purpose of it. Just explain the basics of it so that people get it. Otherwise, people kind of get frustrated if they don't understand the post, like they just click off of it. So that'll also make the post more interactive. And then moving on to the next one. So post on stories, I would say nearly every day. I would post like maybe 3 or 4 stories a day, but it really depends on like how famous the page is currently. So I also added this thing for feed posts. I said for smaller, non-famous pages, I would only post on your feed like maybe once a week. Because for pages that are bigger and more famous, like they already have high levels of engagement, like they can maintain that high level of engagement with a lot of posts. Like they could post once or twice a day, maybe even 3 times a day on their feed. But for smaller pages that don't have like a super high level of engagement and audience, their page isn't meant for that level of engagement yet, like they haven't built up to that quite yet. So I would really focus on like quality over quantity. So I would make like one really high quality post with like really good photos once a week, rather than like just spamming the page to try to get engagement, because that's just probably not gonna work. And then also a big one is to post in the evening. I would say like generally 5 to 9 p.m. because that's when people are off work, they're out of school, they have time to look at their phone. So if you're posting like, especially like early in the day, like 9 a.m., like you're probably not gonna get a lot of engagement. The only time I would post earlier is like if it's a certain holiday and like I'm trying to post like, early in the day, like for a certain event that we're doing and like people need to know about it early. I might post at noon, maybe even a little bit before noon. But generally, if it's not like specific to that exact time or like that exact day, I would just post at night between like 5 and 9 p.m. And then also your cover photos should always be the most aesthetic, like high quality photo. Because like it's the most eye-catching, that's the one that's gonna be on your feed. Like you want the prettiest photo to be on top, because like first impressions matter. And that first photo basically like advertises for the rest of the post. Like if the first photo looks pretty, it gets people to scroll and like they see the second and the third and the fourth. Like if they're bored with the first photo, they're not gonna look through the rest of them. And so the carousels, which is just a post that has multiple photos in it, it should generally go in order of like best to worst photo, while not putting too many of the same type of photo back to back. And what I mean by that is try to vary things like individual shots, so like just like one person, versus like group photos. So if you have a carousel of like, let's say 10 photos, I wouldn't go in order of like 5 individual shots and then like 5 group shots. It would just look kind of weird, like it's like too clunky the way it's like categorized like that. So I would actually try to break it up and do like a couple of group photos, a couple of individuals, like vary it a little bit so that it doesn't look too overly categorized. And so yeah, then you can see in the examples here, I did things like geotags. I had just like a very wide variety explaining what's happening in the photos. I do carousels, I do question boxes, all that kind of stuff, so that it becomes very interactive. And then when it comes to, oh wait, I have to click to the next one here. Another thing about writing captions, like for carousel posts and things like that, I use emojis as bullet points, and you can make these all the same or all different. Try to get really creative with it. Like some people just like to use the same emoji over and over again. I like to really make it different and fun. That way it just really stands out. And then also collab posts in general reach a lot. It has a very, very far reach because you're reaching like both people's groups of followers. And generally the person with the higher amount of followers should make the post, and then everyone else collabs. So that way like you reach the person with the most followers, you reach their following audience first because they have the most, then that reaches the most people, and then everyone else just adds on to it by just accepting the invite. And then also for carousel posts, the thing is it pops up in people's feed twice, and that's a huge part of why it gets a lot of engagement, because like you're basically like hitting both audiences. And then also it makes the post like more visually engaging if you're using carousels, because people want to see a lot of photos. So like the other thing with carousel rather than just collab is like the carousel actually will pop up in people's feed twice as well, because like you'll see it the first time with the cover photo, and then when it pops up in your feed for the second time, you see the second photo first. And so they actually make the rounds in the algorithms double. And so it's more visually engaging when you have more photos, because people like pictures over words. I mean, I kind of like long captions, but like I'm just a little bit weird. Most people actually don't want to read that much. I prefer long captions, but most people actually don't. And so yeah, just in general, that will boost your engagement if you have a lot of pictures, because people are very visual. And then the other quick thing I wanted to mention is about Reels. So Reels automatically get filtered into the algorithms way more than still photos, because people like movement. So just in general, people prefer videos to photos, and Instagram has said before that they actually favor the Reels in the algorithm. So like automatically your post gets like pushed out to more and more people if it's a video over a photo. And you want to try to make it personal. Like don't just like do a bunch of reposts on your feed. Try to make like original content with like photos of you, photos of like your friends. Like try to really make it personal, and do a combination of like words and photos and videos, mainly videos though. And just try to make the captions like short. Like there shouldn't be no words, but you also want it to be decently short. Don't write like paragraphs and paragraphs. And then the next thing, for growing your reach. So like, you could ask your friends to like the page, you could ask your friends to save it. Oh, this is the other big thing is that saving is like a super like. So, to save a post or to send it, it's almost like the power of liking it 10 times. Like it really, really helps, especially commenting too. So saves, comments, all that kind of stuff really boost the engagement. Have your members of your club like and share the post. Like just remind them like, hey, it really helps our algorithm. It helps reach more people. If you guys all save it, share it, whether they share it on their story or even in a group chat, that all helps to really boost the post. Post fairly regularly, like I said, on stories. You can do a few every day, but feed maybe just like once a week and just prioritize quality over quantity. Definitely share stories from other people. Include lots of pictures and videos, make it personal, and then also share from Students for Life America's page. That would really help us out. So just to be a good representative of the movement, try to like really represent the pro-life brand. Like you can use different hashtags like pro-life-gen, abolish abortion, post-Roe-gen. You can just do like hashtag pro-life, all this kind of stuff, because like that'll reach different groups of people if you use different hashtags, and also geotags. So if you tag the location like Washington, D.C. or whatever it is, that'll reach specific people that are in a certain location. So if you're trying to like target a certain audience, it'll help you to reach those people if you use the tag that will hit their algorithms. And so just a few things to remember when you post, like you might have followers that are post-abortive. It's just good to keep in mind, like to always be sensitive, to be truthful and loving at the same time, like to just be careful with your language. Like we want to unify, not divide. And so social media is not going to immediately change someone's mind. It's just like to lovingly plant a seed and hope that it grows to fruition. And then just like a few terminology do's and don'ts. So like we say abortionists, not abortion doctor. We say abortion providers. We don't say baby killers. We say abortion facility, not abortion mill. We say place for adoption or like make an adoption plan rather than give up for adoption. And then we also say like pregnancy help organizations, not crisis pregnancy centers. So those are just like more gentle ways that we word things just so that people understand we're trying to speak the truth in love. And then very last thing, you have a voice to stand up for the preborn's rights. And so to really use social media as the tool that it is, like it can absolutely be used for good. And I hope that you guys choose to use social media. Oh wait, I didn't click here. Yeah, you have a voice to stand up for their rights. So definitely use social media for good and stand up for the preborn. Thank you.
There is a little light box down there, and y'all almost watched me faceplant. I hope you're having a really great day. How is everybody? Morgan, thanks for your social media tips. I think that we didn't mention it at the beginning, but there will be an opportunity to ask questions at the end from all of us here on this panel, from myself, Kate, who will be speaking next, Morgan, and Stephanie. So, opportunity to ask questions, definitely take advantage of that. Okay. I want to make sure you guys can see certain slides. How's this clicker work? The green button? Okay, you have to press it really hard. It doesn't quite work how I want it to. That's okay, though. Okay, good. I'm going to be talking to you guys today about some on-campus activism. I'm going to be talking to you about how you can really make a difference on your campus and in your communities. What I want you guys to take away from this, first, we're going to be talking a little bit about leadership, and I want you guys to have an understanding what sets a great leader apart from a good leader, right? Just the fact that we're all here means that we're great leaders, right? We have gone above and beyond our normal duties, and we have a desire to be involved in the pro-life movement. And many of us in this room are also great leaders. But to increase your leadership, right, we're going to talk about that a little bit. The other thing that I want to encourage you to do, and I want to help you if you haven't already started thinking this way, is to learn how to think outside of the box, right? Students for Life of America is a really great organization, and there's other amazing organizations that are great at giving you ideas. Here, you can do this event. You can do this event. Try this, right? Those are great, really simple events. National Pro-Life Chalk Day, do that because it increases engagement. It gives people an opportunity to get involved. But don't limit yourself to the events that an organization told you can do. Really think outside the box. So that's my second goal for you guys today. We're going to start talking about leadership, and I want to start talking about why we're leaders and why we believe what we can do. So often, I think in the pro-life movement, you guys hear a lot, and you may have heard it just talking to people or talking in conversations. Understand why you're doing what you're doing, right? That's important. Like, I am pro-life because I saw a graphic video clip from the Unplanned movie, and it broke my heart. I realized how abortion is devastating for people, and I made a vow, right? I can never support this. I can never do this. But our whys go so much deeper than those little personal vows that we make. I think we can all think of a moment, for the most part, like, when did we decide that we're going to stand up and really be firm in the pro-life movement? We have a why for that. But a lot of times, especially for myself, it needs to go much deeper than the simple, well, abortion's bad. I made this vow, right? My heart was broken. Why do we fight for abortion? Why do we fight against abortion? Good clarification to make there. I fight against abortion, first and foremost, because every single day, thousands of children's lives are being ended to violence. Thousands of women, men, entire families and generations are being wiped off the face of the earth. They're being lied to, right? They're told, this is the most loving and compassionate thing for your family. You aren't strong enough to be a mother, to be a father right now. Like, just go get an abortion. It's okay. Everybody does it, right? And I'm sick and tired of these people lying to us. I don't want it anymore, right? So understand your why and really dig into that and sit down and think about it. Why is this important, right? And when you start to get in a rut and maybe you leave the conference, a couple months has gone by, and you're like, why am I still doing this? Remember the innocent children. Remember the people that are being lied to. Whatever that reason is for you, take it into account. I'm actually going to skip a little bit, talking about what we can do. What can we do with this why, right? We know why we're doing this thing, and what can we do with it? A good leader really understands what their goals are, and they're able to direct others to do that and to delegate really good tasks. Maybe you've graduated and you're working with our campaign for abortion-free cities, and your goal is to make sure that every single leader or every single person in your city knows about life-affirming pregnancy resources in their area. Maybe you're on campus and your goal is to raise XYZ amount of money or X amount of items for your pregnancy center, right? It's important to understand what you're doing and what are the bigger goals. Why are you raising money for this pregnancy center? You're just giving them money for fun? No, it's because they're helping these women do amazing things, right? We're helping these women choose life. Why are you knocking on doors to tell people about life-affirming alternatives to abortion, right? It's to change the culture. So understand what you're doing and how are you going to do it? Because you can't do it alone, right? When I first became pro-life, I started a pro-life group at my high school. Could not have done it alone. I reached out to people that, all my friends were pro-choice at the time. So I reached out to conservative people who I thought might maybe support my cause. And luckily I found somebody who wanted to start a group with me, right? You need other people who can help you. And good leaders make other leaders. They're good at delegating tasks and helping to build other people up. When you get to a point, right, and whether you're a leadership of a group, you're the club president, or you're just you're not average, but whether you're just a member of the club, I don't know, if you are average, don't tell me because I'm going to tell you how awesome you are, right? You are awesome, right? But no matter what your role is in the club, if you're a member who shows up to meetings and you're just involved, invite other people to come in. Invite them to help out. Hey, I know you're a great artist. We're doing this chalk day. You should totally come. I think it would be really great for you. I think it'd be a good opportunity. Hey, I made this flyer. Can I show it to you? What do you think? Can you help me put it up around campus? Simple things like that help to bring others up and to encourage them, hey, actually, I can be a leader. I can do this. I can do this. I'm not average, right? Right? So understand, good leaders make other leaders, right? That's really important. And it's also incredibly, our attitude about this is incredibly important. I have done events where everything went super, super well, and our goal was to get 30 people to show up, and we got 50, 60, 70 people, and it's amazing, and it's like, holy moly, God is so good, right? I've also done events where our goal was to get that 30, 40 people. We got like 5. Anyone ever been there? That's hard. And it's hard to keep a smile on your face when you're doing that, isn't it? It's like, man. But as a leader, it's your responsibility to put a smile on your face anyways. And be like, okay, this is what God gave us here in this moment, and that's okay, right? That smaller, more intimate group, you have the opportunity to reach those people in a way that maybe you didn't have that opportunity if you have a larger audience, right? And also as a group, if you're a group president especially, but if you're on the leadership board and you're in charge of delegating tasks to anybody, so-and-so was supposed to send out the email and they didn't do it, it's your job to say, hey, so-and-so, hey, Jim, Joe, I don't know, whatever your name is, right? Bob. How's that email going? I know that we said we're going to send it out tomorrow, and I hadn't seen it yet, so I just want to check in. Like, is there something I can do to help you? Or I know you've been really busy. Can I take this off of your plate right now? Right? Because your job as a club leader is to make sure those things get done. And sometimes that means stepping in and helping. That's okay. So just have a good attitude about it, right? Okay, this next slide, some of you guys are in this room. The rest of its presentation is going to be group opportunities. You don't have to clap, it's okay. It's okay. It's not that cool, but it is pretty cool. But the rest of this presentation is going to be opportunities and just ways in which I talked about thinking outside the box. I want to talk about ways that I've seen students in Indiana think outside the box. I'm also going to talk about, on this slide at least, some students in some other regions and other areas. These wonderful young ladies are such an inspiration to me. They're absolutely incredible. And the reason that we're holding violins, you're like, I thought this was a pro-life speech. Well, they gave a concert for their local pregnancy center, and they're like, hey, we're just going to raise money for them. They're music performance majors. They did a great job. It was amazing. The very first one that they held, they raised almost $3,000. They did it again the next year, and they raised a bunch more money. And now they're working to start a nonprofit organization that is going to allow, or they're going to be hosting concerts and helping out with fundraising banquets for various pregnancy resource centers or for various pro-life organizations, right? Whatever your passions are, like whatever they are. Music, you can make it pro-life. Art, you can make that pro-life. There is a student and a Students' Life alumni named Angelique who lives in Las Vegas. Well, she started painting pro-life clothes, and guess what? She owns an art studio in Las Vegas now where she has her pro-life clothes for sale, which is really awesome, right? She started an organization called Life Dress, which is great. Think outside the box. We have an active student with us named Maeve, who at a very young age of, I think like 14, right? She's not in this room. She is here though. I think she's wearing red pants. I've talked to her, right? She actually raised $400,000 for her pregnancy center at 14 years old, right? Out there in California, of all places, right? Think outside the box. Like, don't limit yourself just because I'm a student. You're not average. You can do it. Set your mind to it. God is good. That's what I got to say about that. Let's see. Okay, I have another slide that I actually put in here this morning. It clearly didn't make it into this, so that's okay. Last year, I had a group at Modern Day High School in Evansville, Indiana, who hosted a pro-life 5K for their local pregnancy resource center. And they raised almost $1,000 at this pro-life 5K, but the inspiration came from, hey, we all really like to run. Can we make running pro-life? Yeah, we can. And that's how we did it. And we had signs that said conception, right? And that was the start of the race. It had a little fun fact about conception. And after so many meters, we had a sign that said, you're now like 1 month away because you're, 1/9 of the way done with the race. And we had it, now you're 2 months pregnant and all the way up until 9 months, and you finished the race and the baby came out, right? Just make it fun like that. And you really can make it fun, have a great time. They raised a lot of money. They didn't even ask for money donations, asked people to bring diapers. They brought so many diapers, and they raised $1,000. We're going to do it again this year. They got their whole community involved. This group of like 4 students got 50 people, mostly adults, by the way, to show up for this 5K, which it can be really hard for high school students to invite adults who are not involved with the high school to an event. The fact that they did that is really incredible. These 2 events that you can see, because you unfortunately can't see the 5K picture, are more opportunities, things that we did in Indianapolis. The first one you see, we're outside of Robert Goodman Jewelers. Robert Goodman decided that he wanted to have a pro-abortion jewelry display in his store. Well, on the opening day of his jewelry exhibit, we chalked all the way up and down the public sidewalk pro-life messages. We talked about standing with you, which you'll hear about later. We talked about all sorts of great things. We have these great signs, have all these students show up, and we just want people to know that there's a pro-life presence, right? The funny thing is, Robert Goodman himself actually came out to talk to us because he was at this display. And you won't believe it, but he actually said he really appreciated what we do. He said, I don't believe in your cause. I think that you're wrong, and I think it's immoral. But I'm just so thankful that you guys are out here to express your opinion and that you guys are doing this. Like, that's impressive to a lot of people. So get out there and tell people what you think, right? You don't have to be a people pleaser all the time. You do not have to be a people pleaser all the time. I promise. Y'all are great, right? The other one is on election day, actually. You have to be in Indiana, you have to be a certain number of feet away from the doors. What you can't see in the picture is really small. The line is like really, really far. This whole race was about abortion. The conservative Republican candidate had basically ran her campaign on abortion is bad, and the Democratic candidate had ran her campaign on abortion's on 9 months for any reason. This race was about abortion. We just stood out there with a sign outside of one of the polling places, abortion ends a life. We made sure we were in the legal area, right? You can see this was thrown together last minute. This is on butcher paper, and we got a pint of blue sample paint from Lowe's. Like, it was really last minute, but we were out there to spread a message, and the pro-life candidate won the race by a very slim margin, and 4 years later, she just won her re-election. So that's really cool. This is a pretty liberal area of Indiana, too, so that's really great. The next thing, this is also a little bit political, but that's okay. Indiana was the very first state in the country to call for a special session after Roe v. Wade was overturned. So you see my friend Aya here. Aya is great, and she was here at this Indiana State House, right? The Indiana State House, to be here for this special session. That's what all of these wonderful people in blue are here for. They're all pro-life, right? And they're here to call the Indiana legislature to end abortion in our state. We didn't get quite where we wanted, but we got almost all the way. Abortion is almost inaccessible in Indiana. I mean, chemical abortion is really, really accessible, unfortunately, because of online. There's reports of thousands of those happening, but actual surgical procedures are almost non-existent at this state, so that's really good, right? And just showing up to these things at the State House, when you do a lobby day, when your regional coordinator, hey, there's this lobby day happening, like, y'all, it's not that scary. I promise you, your regional coordinator will take it all care of for you. They'll help you get meetings with your legislators, and you'll realize as a young person, these old fools in the State House actually care what I have to say. They really do. They really care about you. They love you, and they love that you're a young person who's passionate. Especially if you're a constituent, you will get a meeting with them. Unless it's like the majority leader, then you might have more trouble, but you still might get a meeting with them, right, depending on your state. The other thing, if this is at a local church, make sure that you're bringing your advocacy everywhere you go. We noticed that this church didn't have any pregnancy resources available, but they said, oh yeah, we're pro-life, but we don't know what to do about that. Well, we made sure to change that, and we said, why don't you just make a little board that has options available for these women, because statistically, right, a lot of women, I think it's 40% of women, right, who get an abortion also attended a church service the same month they got their abortion, right? And if a woman doesn't even know that there's a place to go, a place to turn, she might feel isolated and, yeah, I know my church is pro-life, but what am I going to do? I don't know about these resources. Just make sure she knows. Even have a big sign at your church. Hey, pregnant, need help? Okay. And the last thing I want to end you guys with is your sample events. Take a picture of this real quick while I go sit down. And these are the easy events you can do, and then you can go think outside the box, right? Do the easy events and think outside the box. And I'm happy to invite up Stephanie.
Okay, I'm back. Hello again. Oh, you're tall, Ben. Oh my gosh. Okay, let me get myself all set up again. So, we're going to talk about standing with you, and I'm going to go real quick through what it is, because who here knows what standing with you is? Yay! I'm so excited to hear that. So we walk with moms in need, right? So our mission is to create a pathway for success for pregnant and parenting students and women all over the country. So we're going to talk today about how you can empower them, how you can educate them, and how you can grow your sphere of influence to help them. Okay. So I'm going to skip over some of these statistics, but the reason that this is important, the reason why you guys are so important in this fight, is because 1 in 5 college students are parents. I'm one of those. So yes, I'm working for Students for Life, but I'm also taking grad classes in the evenings, and I have 2 kids under 2. So it's a little crazy, as you can imagine. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. I appreciate it. But it's a little crazy, but what I will say is I have a great support system. A lot of women do not have a great support system, right? And a lot of women want to accomplish their dreams and goals, and they feel like abortion is their only option to do that. So what we need to do is not only be there for them, but know the resources to send them to and increase our sphere of influence so we know where to send them when they're in this dilemma. So why get involved? Kind of more of that. So Planned Parenthoods are located within, 80% of Planned Parenthoods are located within a 5-mile radius of a college campus. They're coming after our age group, you guys. They know that we are vulnerable because we are students. We are working hard. I know dozens of pro-life people. You are the busiest people that I know. Our age group is running around doing everything. So when you're faced with an unexpected pregnancy, it just gets harder. And Planned Parenthood is there for them, but we know that they're not because they're trying to sell them abortion, right? So what can we do to make sure our sphere of influence is big enough to help those women? So I want you all to ask yourselves, what is your Students for Life group or your friends or your group that you work with doing to support pregnant and parenting students this semester? So you can grow your influence by knowing where to send them. Who knows where their local pregnancy help center is? Awesome. I'm going to tell you a few stories about how I was not equipped when I was younger, and what that did and why it's important to be equipped. But we're going to get into that later. Mostly I want you to know, people will not care what you have to say until they know that you care. So if you're standing out there and saying, I am anti-abortion, that is great, thank you for saying it. But then they say, okay, well, what will you do for a woman, once she gives birth? And you don't have an answer. It's important to make sure that you have that answer to respond to those people. So, tips on how to increase your influence. The number one here is resources. So a lot of you raised your hand about your pregnancy help center. That is key. So to have in your back pocket, here are 5 things that you always kind of need to have in your back pocket when you're having this conversation. Your pregnancy help center, which one is closest, a maternity home if you have one, adoption resources, and then I would say standing with you, obviously, not biased. And then lastly, where to send someone who needs food or shelter. It's really important to know those resources in your community. And like I said before, I'm going to share with you 2 stories. One in which I was not prepared with these items and how that conversation went and how I wish I was. And then one about an amazing student, y'all probably know her. I probably won't name drop her now, but you'll see her around. Who did have these resources and how that changed everything for a woman. So for me, my first year being a regional coordinator, I took the Planned Parenthood Truth Display, bright pink, but super anti-abortion, right, to a bunch of campuses. And I went to McDaniel College in Maryland. And I was young, I did not know a lot, and I was having this conversation, telling people why Planned Parenthood was not the best option for women. And a girl came up to me, and I didn't know how she felt. I just couldn't tell. But she started raging at me. She was yelling, and I didn't really understand where it was coming from. I hadn't had too many conversations like that before, and she was yelling at me. And I was telling her, look, I'm just trying to say Planned Parenthood, they've done all of these bad things. They're not the best option. And with tears in her eyes, I was just like taken aback. She said, look, I was sexually assaulted. And when I went to Planned Parenthood, I would have rather died on that table than had that baby. So what you're saying is insensitive. And I was just flabbergasted. I did not know what to say. And I wish I was equipped with, here's a pregnancy resource center. Here's post-abortive counseling that's local to this community. Like, I just urge you guys to have that in your back pocket for when you're having these really difficult conversations, because they are difficult conversations, right? They can take a lot out of us. But to have that information is so helpful. One of our fellows, though, just a couple of weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, was outside of Planned Parenthood, and she actually had the Standing With You brochure. It was in Spanish, which was really cool. And she happened to come across a woman who was an immigrant, but she was here on a visa. She was a student. And the student was going in for an abortion. And she stopped, and she was not afraid. And she went up to this student and she said, look, I'm here for you. She spoke to her in Spanish. She kind of made her feel more comfortable, laughed with her a little bit, asked her about her situation. And she said, look, I know the local pregnancy resource center 3 minutes away from here. I can take you there tomorrow. I will schedule you an appointment. And she did. She had the connections to take that girl there. She went with her to her appointment and she chose life. Like, it's just such an incredible thing. Thanks be to God that she was there and had that information. But I just encourage you guys, have that in your back pocket. Because if you grow your sphere of influence that way, you can use it to extend a hand to women who really need it. And then I just talked about this, partner with local pregnancy help centers and organizations. I challenge you guys, if you haven't yet, just go. Introduce yourself. Tell them, hey, my name is blank. I'm pro-life, and I'd love to help you. I'd love to volunteer with you. And the more connection that you have, you can even ask them, where should I send someone if they have an unexpected pregnancy and it's like after hours? Where should I send them? Who should I send them to? And they can give you that information. Empower women to choose life. So I'm going to go quickly. But this is one of my former students, Virginia, and she actually faced an unexpected pregnancy when she was in college. And she wasn't in danger of choosing abortion. She's pro-life, but it was still just really hard for her. She didn't have support from her boyfriend at the time. So what we did is we had a Standing With You baby shower for her. And I just encourage you guys to extend that hand. Invite your friends, even if they don't really know each other. It's still fun, make a diaper cake, like whatever it is. The more that you empower women by giving them resources and being their friend, the better that they will feel about choosing life. They know they can trust you and that you'll be walking with them. Okay, and I don't want to take too much of Kate's time here, and I want to leave time for questions. So what I'm going to do, you guys know a lot of this already, but I want to challenge you from here. I want you to, as a group, decide on 3 goals to better support pregnant and parenting students on your campus this year. Whether that's, I'm going to introduce myself to the Pregnancy Help Center director. I am going to have a baby shower for a local student that I know who's pregnant. Anything like that. And I am here to help you brainstorm any day of the week. Like, just reach out to me, info@standingwithyou.org, and I will sit down with you and help plan. I am all about it. So thank you guys, and I'm going to pass it over to Kate.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kate Maloney, and I am the Campaign for Abortion-Free Cities manager. And like Stephanie Stone, I was once a regional coordinator as well. I was the Northeast Regional Coordinator for 3.5 years. Exciting times. And now I get to take the passion I had for student groups and student activism and apply it to the community, and so can you. Because I'm going to tell you how. So the Campaign for Abortion-Free Cities, we exist to equip our student alumni and also local leaders on the ground, everyday people who are like, abortion breaks my heart, I want to make this personal, I want to bring it to my town, how do I do that? We help equip you get there. We help you by cultivating awareness of local pregnancy help centers, breaking community trust with the abortion industry, changing hearts and minds, and then hopefully enshrining life and law. And that's what we're all about. We want to show our communities, that abortion can be unavailable, that it is unthinkable, but that it's also unnecessary. And so our vision is that we create a world where no woman stands alone and all children are protected from the violence of abortion. Now, we launched this initiative in 2021, and we had a very interesting question on our hearts of like, where do our everyday neighbors, the people that we pass by every single day, are they aware of their local pregnancy help center? Because you and me in this room like eat, sleep, and breathe all of this, but your average person maybe doesn't. So we went out there, we launched in 20 different cities, and we asked that very question. Because not only do we want to make our communities abortion free, that's what we're after, but we want them to come to that conclusion on their own. We want to shift culture. That's really important. So what do you think, statistically, what percentage of people had no idea that a pregnancy help center even existed? Any guesses? 73%, exactly. 73% of people, she started this before, had no idea that pregnancy help centers existed. And so we were like, whoa, there's a huge disparity here. And we know that the abortion industry is going to try and fill it. So that's why we exist. We exist to change hearts and minds, change culture, and make our cities abortion-free. Because we know that abortion-free cities can lead to abortion-free states, and that can ultimately lead to an abortion-free nation. Whoa, right? Like that tagline. Yeah, give that some applause. Okay, thank you. Awesome. So who do we serve? I kind of cheated this in the beginning, but we serve our SFLA alumni, and we also serve our local leaders. So all you students right now, do you think that your pro-life leadership ends once you graduate? No, I'm glad no one raised their hands. I would smack it down. It does not end. So your regional coordinators have poured into you, and they love to pour into you, maybe since high school, since college, and they watch you grow, and we watch you activate. So, and it doesn't matter. You could be having another job, like you could have a full-time job. This is still something that you can do. There is still a place for your pro-life passion, and we want to continue to foster that. So what we do at the Campaign for Abortion-Free Cities, we have a monthly cohort call. You can become a campaign leader. You'll work with me one-on-one, and we will set you up for success so that you can continue to lead with the same tenacity and passion that you brought to your campus to your community. And we do the same for local leaders. And anyone in this room who's like, people need to know that their pregnancy help centers exist. I want to change the culture of my town. We are here to serve you. And where? Where can you have campaign cities? Everywhere and anywhere. Every state, no matter the laws on the books, has work to do because we have culture to change. If we see what has happened in this past year with ballot referendums, we watched Ohio, a very red state, pass a ballot referendum. Everyone was very surprised by that. That's because hearts need to change and people need to understand, because ultimately what we're battling in the community is fear. That's why you are also important. That's why your yes is so important. That's why being on campus is so important. But we need to transfer that energy and that momentum into our communities because people are afraid, and the abortion industry loves to just prey on people's fear. That's where all their money comes from, if there's anything that we can take away from everything that Stephanie just talked about. So you can kind of see our mission in action here. This is an example of our summer of service that we do every year in our campaign cities, where we partner with local pregnancy help centers and we go door to door with servant evangelism tactics and literally ask people, hey, do you need anything? Like, do you need diapers? Do you need wipes? This is how we change culture, by showing this is who the pro-life movement is. So I'm gonna click on it. Yes.
Hey Pro-Life Gen, we are out here today door knocking to share about the pregnancy resources in this community in Maryland, because we think women should be able to be supported in pregnancy and not told they need abortion.
While we're out here door knocking, we will be carrying around with us free pregnancy and parenting resources such as diapers and wipes to pass out to any families that we meet who are in need.
Many people do not know of their local pregnancy help centers, so it is really important that we're out here educating the community and offering life-affirming resources. Unfortunately, when people look up online pregnancy help, it most often leads them to Planned Parenthood or abortion clinics. So we are showing them the life-affirming resources and hopefully changing hearts and minds today.
We are currently door knocking, and sometimes people don't answer the door, but that is okay because we have these door hangers with lots of information about pregnancy resources and the danger of the nearby abortion clinic that has hurt so many women. So we are so excited when they don't even answer the door, they still get so much amazing pro-life information.
Yes. Ooh, and you can come visit me at the Standing With You booth. Oh, thank you. Thank you. That's a great video. Thank you. Yeah, I love the claps. If you want to learn more about our strategy and become involved. So lastly here, I just wanted to kind of spotlight some of our alumni leaders, because maybe you're sitting here and you're like, me, no way, but like, yes, you. Because Edmund Burke said that the only way for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing. And I'm in a room of people who want to do something. So I just wanted to spotlight a few of our awesome leaders. We have Mia Atkins. She runs our Miami, Florida campaign for abortion-free cities. And we were able to do a lot of work with Amendment 4. So that was really exciting to have that community influence. Maria Thomas, right here. Woo! Maria's not even graduated yet. She's like low-key breaking the rules, but it's okay because she's so motivated. And I love her story of they went door knocking in their local campus community, and they actually had an incredible mind change story at the door. And this very pro-abortion woman was like, "Wow, you might be making me pro-life," which is huge, which is why we do this, because it's neighbor to neighbor. It's human contact. It's seeing the person. It's knowing your neighbor. And and also the methodology of what we do helps having conversations. So I'll pass really quickly here. But then Rebecca Hughes right here. Woo, Rebecca! She's also an alumni leader. She's currently a diagnostic medical sonographer, okay? Amazing job, and she still leads an incredible campaign in Winston-Salem. So exciting. So you can do it both. You can do it all. I love it. I will have to keep going. So bottom line is focus on your community and the people around you. That's very important. We cannot do this. We're not an island unto ourselves. We need human beings. We need human contact. Utilize social media. We have been given this gift in this day and age. Let's use it for good. Let's use it to spread a positive pro-life message, both on your campus and in your community, to increase your sphere of influence. We can do this. There was a time when we didn't think Roe v. Wade was going to be overturned, but we did it, and we can continue in the fight to make an abortion-free city. Woo woo! So just some ways to get involved. Please start a group, request a tabletop, request a training, host the tour, talk to Stephanie about Standing With You, or become a campaign leader and begin to advocate in your community. Thank you. We have questions. Trying. Do we have time for questions? One question. Who has a great question? You have a great question?
All right, so you mentioned a lot of different social medias, but you didn't cover YouTube. What's your thoughts on the potential of shorts, long form, and community notes?
I think that YouTube is a really important platform. I didn't go over that because I don't have my own YouTube channel, but I think that YouTube Shorts are gradually getting more and more popular because they're very similar to TikToks and Reels, and people don't really have long attention spans anymore.
It's true.
So definitely utilize YouTube Shorts because they're only going to get more and more popular. Another quick one?
Another quick one?
Yeah, I'm curious, I know how important it is to, have a team around you and not, you can't do things yourself, but also, if you don't have that team around you, should I just, kind of try to do it by myself temporarily and hope people come along, or do I need to, go back or switch focus and make sure I have the people before I start?
Great question. I would say ultimately, it's always better to have a group around you to keep yourself motivated, but if no one will join you, do it alone. Eventually someone will be inspired by what you're doing, and they'll join you. But I would say take time to invest in leaders. Are you on a campus? What campus are you on?
Yeah, Bridgewater State.
That's awesome.
Oh,
So
in
you have-
Massachusetts?
Yeah,
Sorry.
Massachusetts?
Yeah. Woo.
Oh, awesome. So that's what kind of we're here for. You connected with your regional coordinator. Awesome. So always invite your RC onto campus with you to join for events. And then other than that, invest in students to join you, do some fun things with them. Have a movie night. Just invite people to do things that aren't scary at first. Form those bonds, and then they might join you for other things too.
There you go. Great strategy.
All right, let's give our speakers a hand.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.